The role of rotavirus as the primary cause of young pigeon disease. Is there treatment for rotavirus? Treatment and control. There is no specific treatment for viral infections. Electrolytes should be used to counter dehydration, especially worthwhile in the acute stages of infection, and antibiotics may be useful to prevent secondary bacterial infections. However, often there is a poor response from infected birds to antibiotics. Birds tend to be dull and do not drink and eat, and therefore any uptake of medication can be compromised. There are some proprietary products, such as an egg powder, from chickens that have been vaccinated against type A rotavirus, and there is some evidence of its efficacy. Some shoots will use a virucidal powder in the drinking water such as Virkon H2O as an aid to control. Another method of control is to prevent the birds from exposure to a large number of viruses. If possible, avoid reusing accommodation and ensure thorough cleansing and disinfection. Good gut bacteria seem to help in outbreaks of disease, and the use of probiotics as a chick starter medication can help to establish a good flora and makes the chicks better able to fight disease. Pigeon breeders have long observed symptoms such as vomiting, diarrhea, and deaths among their young birds. Keen observers could often detect these issues beforehand, as the young birds would struggle to return home after a training flight or show reluctance to approach the feeding tray. Crop retention, also known as water in the crop, was frequently observed in these pigeons, indicating gastrointestinal dysfunction. This condition could lead to vomiting, altered droppings, and a lack of appetite, often resulting in green-colored droppings. Additionally, yellow pigments in their urine indicated significant liver problems, which were confirmed during autopsies revealing extensive liver damage. By taking prompt action with antibiotics, antiparasitic drugs, usually targeting trichomoniasis or hexamida, and liver-supporting supplements, the impact of the disease could be minimized or completely eradicated from the loft housing the young birds. This suggests that the young pigeon disease often involves a bacterial and/or parasitic component, although the exact nature of this syndrome has not been fully understood. Previous research and autopsies conducted in the 1990s considered adenovirus as the main culprit. However, recent autopsies on pigeons that succumbed to the young bird disease revealed sporadic presence of the virus. Moreover, attempts to induce similar symptoms in pigeons deliberately infected with adenovirus or other potential pathogens failed. Over the years, international academics proposed that adenovirus might not be the primary cause anymore, assuming it ever was, known as adenovirus types 1 and 2. Consequently, the disease has increasingly been referred to as young pigeon disease syndrome or YPDS. Nonetheless, the colloquial term adeno is still used to describe the disease, as it was previously referred to as E-Coli syndrome. Adenovirus is occasionally detected, albeit sporadically, during autopsies of such pigeons, but in many cases, herpes or circovirus is more prevalent. Some pigeons were found to have paramyxovirus in their system, while bacteria like E. coli, which explains the need for antibiotics, and parasites like Trichomonas were occasionally discovered, along with hexamida, although less frequently. However, none of these pathogens were consistently present. In fact, it was common for none of these pathogens to be identified at all. Additionally, the E. coli bacterium is known to inhabit the large intestine, so finding it there during an autopsy does not necessarily indicate anything significant. Surprisingly, when the bacterium was found in a location other than the large intestines, such as the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine, researchers discovered that the bacterial strains causing the most severe symptoms had few or no pathogenic features when their DNA was analyzed, despite being found in an unusual location. These findings led academics to believe that the primary cause of the disease had yet to be identified, and the different pathogens were merely secondary factors taking advantage of the pigeon's compromised health to exacerbate or complicate the disease. Consequently, a group of reputable researchers and veterinary surgeons, led by Dr. Elisabeth Poyes from Germany, initiated investigations into alternative causes of the disease. Meanwhile, a new disease outbreak occurred in Australia in 2016, resulting in numerous deaths among both young and adult birds. The symptoms of this disease closely resembled those observed in Europe for years, with the exception that it affected many adult birds as well, which was uncommon in Europe, except during the 1990s when the disease first appeared. Extensive diagnostic research and the exclusion of adenovirus, paramyxovirus, herpes, and other pathogens eventually led veterinary surgeon Colin Walker and others to discover that this new disease was caused by a previously undefined strain of rotavirus known as rotavirus type A. Since this diagnosis was made in Victoria, Australia, it was referred to as the Victorian pigeon virus. Following the warnings from Australia, the FCI, Fédération Colombophile Internationale, decided to ban all Australian pigeons from their one-loft races, a decision already taken by the $1 Million Race in South Africa in 2017. These discoveries prompted European researchers, such as Dr. Ruben Stroth from the Friedrich Loeffler Institute and a former project manager at Freiburg University, to screen for variants of rotavirus. The results revealed that these rotaviruses, similar to the Victoria virus, were present in all diagnostic samples from young birds displaying the previously described symptoms. Furthermore, these variants were more frequently found in pigeons experiencing severe symptoms. Although the variants of these viruses were somewhat similar to the Victorian variant, they were not identical. Research conducted on older diagnostic materials from previous years also yielded the same conclusion. There was a higher prevalence of these rotavirus variants in almost all stored diagnostic samples from cases of the typical young pigeon disease YPDS, including the oldest samples dating back to 2000. Interestingly, researchers also discovered newer variants of the virus every few years, which appeared to affect a larger number of pigeons. Additionally, they were able to experimentally reproduce the symptoms by infecting young birds with the newly identified virus, providing clear evidence that the primary cause had finally been discovered. In hindsight, the rumors of a new disease emerging, as suggested by various media and pigeon enthusiasts, were simply untrue. Researchers believe that this virus has always been the primary cause of the young pigeon disease, a view I share. The disease simply had not been adequately investigated. However, this does not mean that the involvement of other pathogens should be disregarded or ignored. It is conceivable that the Australian virus originated in Europe. But how can we explain the phenomenon of Australian adult birds falling ill and dying? It is likely that this pathogen had not previously been present in Australia's animal population, making these highly susceptible pigeons, including the adult birds, more vulnerable to the new pathogen. In Europe, these viruses are widespread across the entire pigeon population, and as a result, the adult birds have already developed immunity, protecting them from contracting the disease. However, it is possible that European adult birds still experience periodic infections with this virus, albeit at subclinical levels without obvious symptoms. Such infections may act as a sort of booster vaccine. Rotaviruses have long been recognized as causing severe gastrointestinal problems in humans and animals. In retrospect, it seems logical that this type of virus could also lead to similar symptoms and illnesses in pigeons and other birds. Since late 2017, a more virulent strain of rotavirus has been causing significant damage in our regions, resulting in many deaths among young birds, with a peak from March to June 2018 and again in spring 2019. Autopsies consistently identified the presence of rotavirus in the liver of affected birds exhibiting the typical symptoms of crop stasis, vomiting, and severe liver damage. Only in 2019 did diagnostic laboratories, prompted by several veterinarians, begin routine testing to detect rotavirus in pigeons' organs or droppings. One of the most significant benefits and conclusions drawn from these studies for pigeon fanciers is that pigeons can be easily vaccinated against rotavirus. The production of rotavirus vaccines started in 2018, and mostly last year. Both autogenous vaccines, tailored to specific pigeon families, and commercially available vaccines were developed. As a veterinary surgeon, I consider the effectiveness of these vaccinations to be the most compelling evidence of this breakthrough in the medical care of racing birds. Once vaccinated, pigeons are clearly well protected against this disease, with mortality rates reduced to nearly zero. It appears that it takes around 14 days for the vaccine to provide optimal protection, meaning the disease can still occur within 2 weeks after vaccination. Naturally, the longer the pigeons are vaccinated, the higher the likelihood of survival, as observed in practice. The severity of the disease differs when pigeons fall ill 2 days after vaccination compared to 10 days after. Some veterinarians have successfully administered emergency vaccinations to diseased pigeons to gain control over the disease more rapidly, although prevention is always the preferred option. Regardless, it is strongly recommended to vaccinate young birds preventively, especially if there have been numerous cases of disease or deaths in previous years. Determining the most effective vaccination schedule remains an ongoing challenge, taking into account maternal immunity, when antibodies from the mother are transferred to the egg, and the timing of vaccine administration to preempt possible infections. Pigeons at 4 weeks of age are likely too young for effective vaccination due to the continued presence of maternal immunity. This issue may be overcome by implementing 2 or 3 different vaccinations with a few weeks interval. The optimal age for vaccination may be between 6 and 8 weeks old. Needless to say, research on this matter is still ongoing, and consulting a veterinarian for further guidance is always recommended. We extend our profound gratitude to the numerous colleagues and researchers involved in these scientific endeavors, as their efforts have undoubtedly resulted in a significant breakthrough in the medical care of our cherished racing birds. Free racing pigeon tips and lots of info. Please Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, look at the links and email below. There are many reasons to buy my racing pigeon method. Here are some of the best reasons. You will get excellent results. It's a very simple system to use. It's affordable. I have had over 400 first prize winners. It's adaptable to any situation. You can use it with any racing method, natural, widowhood, young birds. It's a very effective method. There is no need to spend a lot of money on fancy pigeon products. It's a reliable system and it is foolproof to use. Professional athletes, race horses, take the same products. There is science behind this, not just hearsay. It is all to do with red blood cells and oxygen in the blood. Without that, a pigeon will not race well, or an athlete will not win a race. If he has low oxygen in his blood, the above is fact and is 100% science. There are a few things you can do to improve your chances of winning at racing pigeons. One of the most important things is to learn as much as you can about the sport. You'll need to know the different types of pigeons, how to train them, and how to race them. Another key factor is practice. You'll need to be able to fly your pigeons competently in order to win races. And, of course, you'll need to have the funds to invest in racing pigeons and other racing equipment. Free racing pigeon tips and lots of info. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, look at the links and email below. There are many reasons to buy my racing pigeon method. Here are some of the best reasons. You will get excellent results. It's a very simple system to use. It's affordable. I have had over 400 first prize winners. It's adaptable to any situation. You can use it with any racing method, natural, widowhood, young birds. It's a very effective method. There is no need to spend a lot of money on fancy pigeon products. It's a reliable system and it is foolproof to use. Professional athletes, race horses, take the same products. There is science behind this, not just hearsay. It is all to do with red blood cells and oxygen in the blood. Without that, a pigeon will not race well, or an athlete will not win a race. If he has low oxygen in his blood, the above is fact and is 100% science. There are a few things you can do to improve your chances of winning at racing pigeons. One of the most important things is to learn as much as you can about the sport. You'll need to know the different types of pigeons, how to train them, and how to race them. Another key factor is practice. You'll need to be able to fly your pigeons competently in order to win races. And, of course, you'll need to have the funds to invest in racing pigeons and other racing equipment.